Aloha, my name is Jason Smith. This is Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. This is my guest, Tamara Rodriguez, and she's from a group called Plastic Children. So, Tamara, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Very nice. Thanks for coming down to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Nice, nice. And so basically on the show, we just talk about your background, where you're going, where you want to be, and everything in between, and then a little bit more information, you know, just about you and your views and about the music in Hawaii, and just in overall in general, just the music that surrounds us right now in this day.
Okay.
So, just to start it off, don't want to rush into it, but can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes. So me personally, I'm from Colorado.
Okay.
I grew up in Colorado. I was born and raised there. So naturally, I mean, there's kind of a music scene in Colorado. Colorado's kind of got like a cool, legitimate music scene.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
artists that have come out of there. There's a lot of different music that's accepted there. So it was really great for artists to kind of flourish. So I just started getting into music when I was younger, mostly kind of singing to myself.
Yeah,
things
naturally.
like that. Yeah, you know, I had a little bit of formal training, mostly just like when I was really young, church choirs was what I did.
Okay, that type
and
of
then,
formal training.
Yeah, and then, you know, I just kind of branched off on my own and decided that I wanted to sing, and then met my bandmate who lives in Denver, and we started a band back in 2010.
So you didn't really have a lot of schooling or any mentors teaching you how to sing in that sense, right?
Not really.
Did you have anybody in your background, like your mother, your father, your uncle, or any grandparents that were musically talented or inclined?
A little bit. My dad was a DJ when I was growing up.
Oh, how lucky!
So he was a part of this whole like DJ.
What type of music did he spin? What was he all about?
Well, this was during the 80s, so some 80s hits, definitely.
Yeah.
Hip hop,
Yeah,
a lot of
mostly-
hip hop,
okay,
and then
okay.
just kind of 80s beats, you know, Grandmaster Flash, Ice Cube,
So
Dre.
he was somewhat of a pioneer, would you say? Or?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, he
Right.
kind of had his own thing going on, played at like a lot of local clubs. And then, you know, my grandma, she just kind of liked to sing, you know.
Yeah.
And she sang in church and things like that. So that was the earlier days of my music. And then I kind of started, what I did actually is I took a couple of classes with some musician teachers, which was really beneficial, but
Oh, of
most
course.
of the time I just recorded my voice, listened back to it, figured out what I needed to change. It was just I just did it all by ear, and then just kind of figured out the right pitches, and then figured out how to control my voice and how to use it in the different parts of your body, your head or your throat or your chest, and I just kind of went from there.
Wow, that sounds like pretty dedicated. You know, a lot of people don't break it down like that. They're just like, all right, I'm gonna try to sing. That works. That doesn't work. I don't know. It's just like, you know, you really analyzed it and, you know, perfected your art. So that's kind of cool. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't really know where to go in that sense. So, what made you settle down with singing? Did you ever play any instruments or anything like that, or that was just the main passion?
Well, I had a piano growing up, so I did some dabbling, and I've dabbled in a few other instruments. I've dabbled in violin, piano, and flute.
Oh wow!
But I never really pursued those things. You know, I liked them, but I really just didn't have the opportunity to get any formal training unless it was like through school, through high school or middle school or whatever, which I could have done, but I just honestly, I got into singing after I graduated. I started my band in 2010. It was 2 years after I had graduated from any type of school. And I would just sing for my friends. That's really what I did. I'd be like, hey, you want to hear a song? We'd be out and like having fun or whatever. And I'd be feeling happy and good and confident. And so I'd just sing to them and they'd just all be like, wow, like I really like your voice. And so one day my friend said, well, you know, my other friend's been doing music forever, you know, and you guys seem like you'd have like a good vibe with each other because we liked really experimental music, you know, like Portishead and trip hop and things like that. And so I met up with him, and then we just kind of jumped to it and just clicked instantly. So that's kind of how that happened.
And this is your bandmate, Matt Lane.
Matt Lane, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. I don't want to move too far ahead, but so you said that some of your influences like Portishead and that kind of style. What other artists and musicians were you kind of looking up to when you're developing your style?
I really look up to, which you'll hear in the music, Coco Rosie. That's one of
Okay.
my most recent influences. I really like the juxtaposition of the two voices, how one of them has like a very dark and slow kind of pitch and creepy tone to it, and then the other one is an opera singer, so she has a very controlled professional voice.
Yeah.
So that's one, and their music is just very unique and different. I've looked up to Erykah Badu, Amy Winehouse, a lot of jazz artists, Ella Fitzgerald and things like that. And then I was kind of inspired by metal. I like metal music. My inspiration, it does come from other artists. There are other artists that I look up to. Vocally, it would definitely be somewhere in the range of Erykah Badu for sure, Coco Rosie, Amy Winehouse.
It
all those
definitely
people.
shows in your style, yeah.
Right, but I kind of like more just hearing sounds, whether they're natural sounds or I'll go to like different personal shows that people have where it's like kind of like a soft metal or something like that, and it's just in a garage somewhere, and I kind of just go off of that vibe. But yeah, so just all types of influences, but those are like, I guess, the main ones.
Nice. I noticed when you're talking about the sound, I noticed that the sound that you have, it's very, very hard to pinpoint. It's kind of industrial, and it's kind of light and heavy. It's really one of those unclassified like genres in that area, and you don't really find a lot of that out there. And that's actually that's a definitely positive thing that to come across that. Very fortunate, because like I said, there's not a lot of that out there. And so definitely looking forward to hearing some of your songs later, as the rest of our viewers as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so what have you learned from some of these artists that you just mentioned? Like, what have you picked up, and what have they pretty much taught you about yourself, and how did you interpret that?
Well, as far as Erykah Badu goes, she's very Afrocentric. I grew up on artists like her and Sade, and my dad loved Sade. So
I was a little bit of a fan. I know it's ahead of my time, but yeah.
So, I mean, like, she's just influenced me with her just kind of a quirky Afrocentric, new age, Afrobeat kind of style. I really liked it because it was kind of like this traditional jazz voice, but she put her own spin on it, you know what I mean? And it was just very unique at her time, so she just kind of taught me I would listen to her music and her concert sessions and just everything, and she would just flow. And if she was off key, she'd be like, oh, that was the wrong pitch. That was really bad, y'all. Like, I'm gonna try it again. Like, even though she's this professional artist, she kind of still had that more lax personality. As far as Amy Winehouse, I mean, holy cow, she's just a powerhouse, you know what I mean? And I just really was influenced by her lyrically. She was a lyricist that I liked. I liked the way that she was just stating these simple, day-to-day concepts, but she was just doing it in a poetic way. I really like how she poetically wrote her music. And then Coco Rosie is just so cool. Like, they use things like children's toys, and they have like a human beatboxer. And one of the lead singers she plays the harp, and I was just very intrigued by how they used these sounds that
didn't naturally match up.
Instruments, and things like that, and they created just this really great music that is just so unique. So that's what drew me to those artists particularly.
That's nice, because there's a lot of music out there that kind of is rolling with the same flow, and when you find something outside of that, you can really find appreciation in that. That's what I felt, at least when I listened to your music. I showed a couple friends, and I was like, hey, check this stuff out. So then they're just like, oh wow, it's it's like, who is this? Where are they from? Like, is this like online? Can I get their album? I'm like, whoa, just showed you a couple of tracks. It's like, it's because there is a demand for that type of music that isn't quite classified, and isn't so much of the norm.
Right.
So you talked a little bit about your bandmate. Do you want to go a little bit more into Plastic Children, and how did you come up with that name? I mean, I just want to get into that.
Okay. Well, So I am kind of a vain person.
Okay.
So image is important to me. You know, I just like not in the sense that it's not a judgmental thing. It's just for me, like I have a certain way I like to look. You can't tell today because I'm very basic, but usually, you know, I'm wild. You know, I like wigs, I like glitter eyebrows, I like all types of crazy things, you know, and so that was like, that had to play into it. And with my bandmate, he almost had the same way, and he kind of felt for the people with, you know, certain issues. He was like a carer, like, so he was surrounded by a lot of people that had, you know, eating disorders or, you know, physical disorders where they just didn't see themselves the way that they should have. So Plastic Children is kind of, it's like saying, like, you know, it's kind of a play off of like people who have eating disorders or have a ton of plastic surgery and things like that. Like, we are the epitome of that. We are the plastic children. We are the next, you know, thing, kind of thing. So we just kind of played on those things and came up with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't taken, so we were like, totally, let's do it. So that's kind of how we...
Well, I noticed with some names, sometimes people pick these crazy names and it's like, oh, so what's the meaning behind it? Or how do you pronounce that? Or why is it so long? You know, it's nice and simple. You know, it has a little bit of background behind it. So I told a couple people, I was like, yeah, look them up. You know, SoundCloud, Plastic Children, and, you know, real easy to find. So that's definitely something you guys have going for you. And for Plastic Children, what would you say your guys' type of genre was? Because I tried to list it, and then I was like, no need. But then I was like, no, but what can I really pinpoint? What is here? I know explaining your music isn't the easiest because I tried to tell other people about it, and I was like, you just have to listen. You have to like really just, you have to listen.
It's not really anything. It's just what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we classify ourselves as avant-garde. That's what we classify ourselves as.
All right.
It's just like avant-garde in the fashion industry. It's just kind of this very over-the-top musically, and it's so inspired by so many different genres. It's hard for us to say we're trip-hop, but we're just experimental, trip-hop, avant-garde, electronic, all of that combined.
Yeah,
So we just kind of go by avant-garde because that's the best way to kind of include all of those genres, you know. Yeah. So that's.
So when you met your bandmate Matt Lane, how did you end up meeting him in the first place? You had a friend that knew a friend, and then you guys were just like, all right, let's get it going. How did that all roll into place? Like you guys meeting and you're like, all right, so let's create a song, because you're already doing songs for all, you know, your friends and stuff, and you're like, you know, on a small level. So how did that actually come into play?
Well, I went to high school with him, and he is a year older than me, so we kind of knew about each other. He was actually in a band called Airplane Safety in high school.
You guys are gonna have to name one of my albums. You guys got 2 names.
Yeah, we're pretty good at. We're both like very, very. You know, he's more. We're both very poetic people. You know, like I write the lyrics and he does the music, but we are so intertwined within one another. So. Yeah, we're good at coming up with catchy names. But
the stuff that really catches your attention, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like, to put a big old question mark, it's like, I want to know more. I don't know what it is. I heard the name, but I want to know more.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so he was in that band, and they were just absolutely wild, like screamo metal something. Like,
oh, okay.
They're kind of avant-garde too, you know, like. Anyway, so he was doing his music there, and he was playing bass for them. And then they actually used to practice in my really good friend's basement, one of my best friends at the time. Like they were kind of similar to like the Mars Volta or something like that. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're like just a really experimental rock band.
Yeah.
And so they were practicing in my best friend's basement. And so I would be there, you know, and they'd be loud and wild, and then her parents would just, you know, let them do it, you know, and it was awesome. And then anyway, so they ended up breaking up, and I think they were like trying to figure it out. And he was looking for a bandmate, you know, and you know, my friends knew that I had been singing and stuff like that. And I think, you know, one day my girlfriend just kind of suggested it, and we looked at each other and we were like, do you want to try to make some music or something? And we both were like, yeah. And then, you know, we just kind of came together, and I was just very inspired. He was already, solid, you know, musically. He already had tracks, he already had beats, he already had
Already
recordings.
established.
Yeah, his own recordings. He was also Anorexic Beauty was another one of his projects. And so, you know, he was already established, and I just got to join the gang, and it was just, we hit it off the bat, you know, like me lyrically, like I write very interesting poetics, and then him, you know, instrumentally, he writes, he composes,
poetic,
very poetic instrumental, so it just kind of meshed together, and we were both weird, so we just made weird music. We're weird, so we make weird music.
No, that's cool. That's cool. You guys formed the yin and yang, and you know, you guys made it happen. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back from our break. But yeah, I'd love to hear some more. So my name's Jason Smith. This is my guest, Tamara Rodriguez. She's from a band called Plastic Children. This is Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. We're going to go on a break for 1 moment. I'll catch you guys when you guys come back.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
Aloha, welcome back. This is Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your guest, Jason. I'm your host, Jason Smith. This is my guest, Tamara Rodriguez from Plastic Children. She's missing her bandmate this session, Matt Lane, but hopefully we might have him come back on our next show, possibly. So when we left off, we were talking about your group, Plastic Children, a little bit about their name and how you met with the other bandmate. So can you tell me a little bit like how long you guys been together and performing and stuff like that and doing solid music?
We started in 2010. That's when we first got together. And then from then on, we performed all the way up until May.
When did you guys start
May.
taking it seriously? Like,
oh, it was always serious. for
always,
us.
as soon
It
as you
was
guys
always
got together,
serious.
like,
Yeah.
you know, this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And as soon as you formed the name and, you know, started doing tracks, what was your first track that you guys did?
Our first track, it was called Natural Disaster.
Okay, I like that one. So now that one, I saw that it was posted. That was probably one of the first tracks that you posted on SoundCloud.
It was.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
That was about 3 years ago, I think. Maybe a little, 3 years ago, 2010, yeah.
And you guys just been moving from there, huh?
Yeah, we just kept getting crazier and crazier. The tracks just kept getting wilder and wilder, and it was just,
I
it just
understand
kept
that.
going.
That's pretty normal though, because as artists, you know, you want to keep your style, and if your style is always to never be consistent, then you know, you don't really have. You just never make anything the same. Just don't. You know, that's pretty much the standard, right?
Right.
Cool. So, do you have any favorite songs that you guys like to perform, or any out of the group of songs that you favor more?
I would have to say, well, I love Natural Disaster, definitely. We always opened with it because it's just like a great entry song for our music.
Yeah.
Because it gets pretty wild, you know? And so Natural Disaster is kind of like give the audience a feel for the weird. Can I cuss on here? I can't
No,
cuss.
no.
Okay.
I tried it earlier. It wasn't good.
I just assumed. Okay, for the weird, for the wacky music that was about to happen and that they were about to hear. So, yeah. So that was like a great opening song. Plus, it's the first song I ever wrote, so it was like I have sentimental value with that song.
Yeah.
One of my other favorite songs is Melancholy, and that's when we started kind of getting more into like metal influences and things like that, and we started to really, you know, have a greater production of our music. You know, we were a lot more detailed with it because we went through the entire editing process and recording process. We did that all by ourselves. You know, it wasn't,
I kind of like noticed that I was like, you know what, they don't have any other hands on. It's strictly a duel, like them two like going through and mixing down their projects.
just
I
hours
already,
and hours just pounding it out,
Yeah.
just hanging out with each other, like getting it recorded, getting it mixed, like, yeah. There was just really just the two of us. So,
wow.
yeah.
And do you guys have any albums that are circulating right now?
We just have our EP.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have that one, our EP. Sorry, it's got a long name.
I noticed. I looked at it and I was like, "Is that the name? Is that the title? Is that the title and the name and little description?" I wasn't sure exactly.
It's okay. It's a synthetic sunset breeds a schizophrenic moon, silently weeping in a cynical cocoon, and it's kind of like I said, we're poetic.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and we like to be extreme, you know? We like to be extreme, but we're also, you know, we have very interesting energies together because, you know, my bandmate is extreme. He's an extreme person, extreme personality, and so am I. You know, we're both very passionate, but I like to have that meditative, you know, recuperation time, you know, and that's why a lot of our songs will end very etherically and peacefully because I'm like, okay, Matt, we had crazy fun time, like let's, you know, like let's relax and, you know, do something a little bit more pretty and beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of our songs, they end very calmly, you know, very meditative.
I noticed another thing about your songs is, you know, they might start off in one direction and then they'll move into this other direction, kind of like you said, you'll like kind of smooth off to an ending. And you guys have no really concept or structure of time. You're like, this is our art, this is where it starts and begins. Most people have this format of like 3.5 minutes or 4-minute songs, so it can be, you know,
choruses and things like that.
it's real structured and it's set for, you know, maybe the radio or whatever. But it's still the traditional way of like, you know, organizing a song. You guys you're like, I don't care about that. We're gonna do what we're gonna do.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. I really like that.
Thank you.
Because, you know, I notice what a lot of, like I make beats, and when I make beats, you know, I go through the rhythm and then I make a drum line and, you know, that's it. And usually it gets somewhat repetitive and, you know, there's climax and intros and outros. But I notice what you guys do. You guys are just like, okay, we're not going to do a basic beat. We're just going to make this, like, you know, you can have a tempo that's really slow and then speed it up. And then I don't know what's going on, but I know that it's like, you know, it's here, it's up there. And then whatever you started with in the beginning, you guys aren't ending with that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I notice what a lot of people with their structure, they just can't stay away from that. And it's like, you know, this is the foundation of the beat. This is how the beat's gonna go. And you guys completely just, you know, just made your own path. Mm-hmm. You know, how did you end up settling down and understanding that, like, this is the direction that we want to go in? Or was it just kind of what you guys naturally do as artists?
It was what we naturally did. We were just pretty wild, but you know, a lot of musicians, that's what they are. They're musicians, you know. And for us, we are musicians or vocalists, but we're artists, you know. When we performed, we didn't think of ourselves as, oh, okay, we're just going to get on the stage and, you know, make these people happy. Like, we wanted to be an installation piece.
Yeah.
You know, like, we wanted to be a piece that people could come and observe and try to understand, you know, just like any other piece of art in a museum. You know, that's kind of how we thought about our music. So it wasn't really about what's catchy or, you know, what people are going to like. It was about us creating pieces of art, and we thought about our music the same way that any artist would create their art. You know, they just do what feels right to them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we thought of ourselves, and that's why we don't have choruses and things like that.
Nice,
it's because
nice.
we just kept flowing. We just kept working on the piece until the piece was done, and that's kind of how we functioned. So.
Wow. So I also noticed that you know, there's a lot incorporated in the in the instrumental of your beat, like the vocals. You know, that's a whole another range you could talk about, but just for the beat by itself, I noticed that there was a lot going on. And does your bandmate Matt Lane, he plays the instruments? How many different instruments is he playing when he's incorporating the songs? And I noticed that it's not all just instruments, it's also digital music, so he's using some type of program or console too. So can you explain a little bit more about how you guys develop your beats?
Yes. So my bandmate is a trained bassist and guitarist. So that's what he plays. And he also plays the synthesizer. So a lot of the times in our music, we created these highly synthesized sounds.
Yeah.
So we would create those through the synthesizer. And, you know, if anybody's ever worked with a synthesizer, it takes forever to make one sound, to get the right sound.
Because you have these options. You'd be like, is it
Yeah,
so
you're
like,
trying to get the beats right. Trying to,
what's the most stimulating sound that you're pretty much looking for?
And we would create an entire song based off of a synthesized sound that we made. And it's kind of hard to build around that. So he plays the guitar, the bass, the synthesizer. There's a couple times where we brought in a djembe. One of my good friends had a djembe, so we played the djembe with effects over it. And then we did use a musical program to create any sound effects, or we didn't have a drummer. So a lot of the times, if we weren't using, like, we would use his acoustic guitar and we'd beat on that. Or we use the djembe, or we use other materials to just kind of bang on, because we had drumsticks, we just didn't have drums. So we'd use like other things to bang, like, you know, we'd just like bang on other things or whatever and just get the sound and then put an effect over it if we needed to, or keep the original sound if that worked. And if not, then, you know, we tried to produce as much as we could from ourselves, and if we had to, you know, use a musical program, we did. And that's just kind of how we do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how did you end up, like, you have the beat in front of you, or actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So you guys make the beat and you write the song at the same time, or do you guys have a concept and then work together, or he makes the backbeat and then you write your vocals on top of that? How does the process go down?
Usually,
I know how it usually goes down, but you know, you can't really say that with your style.
Right. For us, what we would do is we would work on the instrumental first. That's always was the first thing, was to get the instrumental done. So we'd work on the instrumental. Usually the first thing we go to is the guitar riff. That's the first thing we would go to, because then you can add the bass, and then you can add the synthesized sounds to it, and then you can add the drum beats and all that. So that was kind of like a base for us. Like, we'd work on the guitar riff and get the right one down.
Yeah.
At least the standard one. That's going to be the you know, it's going to set the tone for the song that we were working on. So we'd get that down. And then together, because, you know, we really did work together as a team very well. You know, like, he'll play something and I'll say, okay, he'll be like, and I'm like, okay, well, why don't you try like, you know, or whatever, just whatever. And I just kind of like tweak it, and I'd be like, okay, play it like this, because I can't play the guitar. So I'd just be like, okay, well, let's try it like this. And so we kind of just did that, and then from there, we pretty much got the instrumental done. We figured out all the sounds we wanted to put in it, and we just completely produced that. And then I would work on my vocals. I'd sit down by myself. It was almost like a meditation session, and I would just listen to the song over and over and over and over and over again, because I don't really write love songs or, you know, about the loves in my life or the people around me or what I'm going through. My songs are they're just stories, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just a writer, and I'm just writing music. Like, you know, it's a story. I love to create stories, so that's kind of what we did. And then we record it, my vocals, and put it all together and edited it, and boom. And then, you know, that's
done deal.
The process, yeah.
You make it sound so simple, but
it's not that simple. Let me just tell you.
It seems like it takes like hours just, you know, for each process, you know.
Yeah.
Because as a producer, I definitely understand that you guys are on a different level than I am. But that's what happens. When you come across a different artistic blends and aspects, and in the sense, no one's all going to draw the same picture the same way. So
Right.
yeah, you guys has definitely improvised on your picture drawing skills.
Yeah, we just got a bunch of paint and materials from a dumpster and threw it all on a canvas. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
very neatly and organized
Yes.
it very well.
And it was beautiful.
All right,
Yeah,
so we're gonna cut to another short break, and we'll be back in 1 second. So my name's Jason Smith. This is my guest, Tamara, and she's from a band called Plastic Children. This is Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. My name's Jason Smith again, like I said, and we'll be back in just one moment. All right.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
Aloha and welcome back to Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your guest, Jason Smith. This is...
He's the host.
I'm the guest, by the way. Just getting ahead of myself. I'm your host, Jason Smith. This is my guest, Tamara Rodriguez, from a band called Plastic Children. All right, so next on our list, we're going to have her sing a couple songs for us. One's going to be a cappella. The other one's going to be one with a beat behind it. So the title for your first song?
The first song is the one I talked about earlier. It's Natural Disaster.
Nice.
And it's really easy to sing a cappella, and you kind of get the gist of it. So, yeah. Can I stand or should I sit?
Well,
or?
no, we just, I mean, if you feel comfortable standing, but we'd rather have you sit because the camera's already in position.
I'll sit down here. I think I can still do it. Good. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to just take a sip of water so I can kind of lubricate my tubes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Tamara Rodriguez from Plastic Children, and the song is called Natural Disaster.
I want to experiment with quiet breezes. Feel your screeches through the breezes. Listen, can you feel the moonlight's glisten pushing itself over the wider, wishing wavy noises and crystal scratches? Breath full of precipitation, tippy-toe bath. People living in a state of nature. Your shadow cast, fading your resemblance to mine. But you keep on splashing, hoping for the shade to pass. Nasty-minded individuals creeping up from behind, sucking our souls until the desert's dry. Lips thirsting for water, but that's too expensive nowadays. Industrial revolution, pure minds decomposed in money and power. Purest of freeze, protect your flower. Oh dear, protect your flower, for one day it'll be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It kind of goes something like that, and there's obviously a beat and some other things.
Yeah, when I listened to the song, I remember that one. It was the beat behind it was great, and the vocals are there. It was just definitely one of those very poetic and very capturing type of songs.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, so another song I'd like to sing. I'm really sorry. I wish I could have my bandmate here and the instrumentals, but hopefully after this we can play the music and then people can get a better feel for it without just, you know, with everything put together and not just my voice. But for right now, all I have is my voice for you, and hopefully you appreciate it. Anyway, so this next song, is it okay if I just do kind of a sample?
Yeah, just a
Okay.
sample, that's okay.
So this next song is called Melancholy. It's one of my favorite songs. It's when we started getting more into metal. So anyway, it goes like this.
Okay.
Monocoat menace dressed in tailored skin, propelling financial progress for the atmosphere to binge. Breathe in the poison, drink up the diluted life that drips from every faucet, pain and strife. Sunlight eclipsed by artificial clouds. Voices are submissive whispers now. Lungs shout as the rusted moon laughs us to sleep over acidic monsoons. And that's it.
Wow. See, I need to do more poetry in my rhymes. I feel like I don't go deep enough on a deep enough level.
Yeah.
Definitely very inspiring, for sure.
Thank you very much.
All right, so can you explain a little bit about the last song and how you got the inspiration in writing that and where it exactly stemmed from?
Yeah, I kind of got the inspiration of, I was just tired of living in a synthetic society. You know, I felt like the experiences that I were having were real, but I didn't really feel like the people around me realized how real their experiences were.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that I kind of just tried to present that to people, you know, in my music. I try to present things to people, you know, and I think a lot of people just get so bogged down by, you know, their daily lives of working and money, and they don't understand what's really just being spewed into their faces.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just all this garbage, you know, and so I just kind of wanted to help people clean that up for themselves. So, you know, and it's just things that I had noticed myself, and I kind of just
Put in
expressed them.
perspective, yeah, that's good.
Definitely.
I don't think that, you know, in the independent industry, when you're doing music, there's a lot of that being shown. But after you breach past that, it's a little bit harder to express yourself, because then you're kind of part of the system that exactly that you were kind of talking about before, you know. Mm-hmm. So I feel exactly what you're saying, and you know, it's one of those. It's kind of touchy, actually. You know, some people don't want to hear about, you know, the stuff that's being shoved in their face, and you know, the dream that they're caught in. You know, but seriously, I understand you. So, you know,
wonderful.
So, do you want to play some of your music for us and get that going?
Yeah. I'd
right.
love to let everybody hear it as a whole, because it really is different from me singing a cappella. If I can get that going here. Let's see. Dum, 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 dum. Okay. Let's see. Can I do it?
So one of my favorite songs that you did was Acid Dreams.
Okay.
And there was another one I can't quite pronounce, but it sounded like you were speaking French in it.
It was, yeah, that one's called Au revoir pas.
Okay, see,
And
that's
that-
why I was having trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, and that one is, I'm studying French, and so I was like really stoked to try to, you know, do something in French in my music.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wrote this whole song. I studied to write this song actually, and I like wrote this whole song, and it's about a girl having an acid trip in the woods. So, but
My
it
favorite
sounds,
song is
it
Acid Dreams, and then you have the song that's
Au revoir,
about
which is
acid.
about yeah. So yeah, that's
Kind of like a Alice in Wonderland based, or
yeah, a little bit, you know, just kind of her experiences and things like that, and yeah, it's just basically what she's experiencing. So in my mind, when I'm creating that song in my head, it was just me thinking, okay, if I were, you know, tripping on acid and I were in the woods, well, okay, she's not necessarily tripping on acid, but she's in this immovable state of her mind where she cannot move her body. It's like the elements are pushing down on her, and she's stuck in this position in the middle of the forest, and then she starts seeing all these crazy shapes and hears these crazy sounds and realize that the trees are watching her. It's just this whole story that I just kind of created in my head.
so you have to do one for that with subtitles for us then.
Yeah, I could definitely try. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to play my music right. It was working earlier, but it seems like it's not.
That's okay. You know what? We can go on a quick break. We'll
Yeah.
get it figured out, and then
Okay.
we'll come back.
Sounds good.
All right. So I'm your host, Jason Smith, and this is my guest,
Guest.
Tamara Rodriguez from Plastic Children. And we're gonna come back. We're gonna finish up with our show. We're gonna have you listen to a few of her tracks that she has on her phone, and we're gonna be back in just one moment. So stay tuned.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
Aloha, welcome back to Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Jason Smith. You guys love that, don't you?
He's the guest.
Yeah.
Maybe I should interview you. No?
Yeah. Maybe next time.
Trade roles.
So we have Tamara Rodriguez from Plastic Children, and we are gonna play you guys a little bit of our instrumental music to get more of a feel of. Is it instrumental or your vocals on there too?
Vocals are on there too.
Okay, so we're just gonna go full blown with the track. So, you guys tune in and just we got some fresh music coming for you. Just one moment.
So this one is Hip Hop Kerbopolis.
So
Wow, very nice.
Thank you.
So I actually, when I was going through the tracks, that's the first one that caught up to me, and it was just like, hey, that sounds like a good beat. I was like, I would rap over this.
Yeah.
So
The beat, yeah, a lot of people when they first listen to our music, they actually put us into hip hop genre.
No.
So, which is really weird. One of the first girls that booked us said, "Oh, I thought you guys were hip hop." I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," because we have a lot of like kind of gutter beats, you know.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I love
yeah.
hip hop, so
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense that you would like to rap over it. for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, that's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
good. Thanks for sharing your music with us.
Yeah, no problem.
So our show's coming to a little bit of an end, but I still have a few more questions to ask you.
Sure.
Okay, so what are your live shows like when you perform?
Our live shows are actually quite interesting. At first, we were just kind of performing, you know, and you just kind of saw our performance, and that was enough, you know.
Yeah.
It was just crazy enough for everybody to kind of be like, whoa, that's really different. And then we started to really think about where we wanted to take our band's direction, you know. And we decided that we didn't really want to be in, like, you know, venues or clubs or, you know, we did, but we wanted to be like a traveling installation piece, essentially.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about earlier, we wanted to be a work of art that you could experience and, you know, connect with. So towards the end of our performances, I actually, I'm a dancer, so I did interpretive dance.
Okay.
So in the song Adverbial Consciousness, if you listen to that track, the first 5 minutes of it is strictly instrumental.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because that whole 5 minutes I'm dancing. And that song, it's about quantum physics. That's what that song is about. And it's about a particle theory that it basically explains that two elements that have that same, you know, connection, even though you separate them, they will always have a line of connection within physics. They will always have some line of connection to them. So I did an interpretive dance actually with a doll head. So it was really interesting performance, but I did an interpretive dance, and I kind of was just trying to represent that theory. So yeah, so our performance was fun and it had some really interesting interpretive dancing in it, and really interactive. So
Nice. I would love to see one of your performances. I only ask because I listen to your music. I'm like, I would love to see them perform. And it seems like your producer makes some of the music like kind of on the spot. Like maybe he would be doing he wouldn't just be playing the regular old track. He'd be back there, you know, either DJing or like mixing it down or, you know, improvising a little bit here and there. So yeah, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So some of the last questions I have to ask you is how can we keep music strong in Hawaii? What are your views on the music in Hawaii? How does your music fit in, and do you have any advice for anybody that wants to get into music?
Well, one simple way to keep music in Hawaii alive is just to keep playing it, you know? And just, you know, I know there's a lot of people that, you know, are just experimenting. It's like, go to open mics, you know, like get your live performance down, you know, like, and just continue to make music and be inspired by each other. And music is thriving in Hawaii, you know, because there are some really talented musicians here. And I think the way to just, you know, keep it alive is, you know, for people to keep supporting not only the international acts, but the local acts here that, you know, work very hard to produce some really beautiful music for all of us to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I love the music scene out here. You know, there's music everywhere. You know, anywhere you go in Waikiki or around town or any of the bars, they always have live music. And, you know, I actually work at a bar, you know, on Kapahulu on stage. We have live music every day, and we do open mic on Tuesday. So I just encourage artists to go out and do that for themselves. And sorry, what was the other question?
Just any advice and
advice.
Know,
Yeah, I would just say, you know, a lot of people, you know, I would just say spread your wings and get out there and showcase your talents. A lot of people keep that in, I think, and they're afraid that of what other people would think, but really, you know, we're people who appreciate music, and I think Hawaii is a very talented and accepting community, and loving community for you to, any artist here to start themselves out. And so, yeah, just let yourself be and let yourself perform.
Nice, very well spoken, very well said.
Thank
you. Is there somewhere that people can get in touch with your music?
SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Plastic Children, Facebook.com/Plastic Children are probably our biggest sites.
Okay. Well, go search her up. Go find her on SoundCloud /Plastic Children and enjoy some of her music. Tamara Rodriguez from Plastic Children. I'm Jason Smith. This is our show, Local Notes on ThinkTech Hawaii. We'll see you guys next week, Monday. Thanks for joining us.